Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library. And today I have a great guest on because this is an industry that I think not a lot of people think about, innovation or they think about, technology influencing. But this industry is one that I think is very ripe for modernization, very ripe for opportunity. So I wanted to bring on Dustin Yoder to talk about his great business, what they're doing to revolutionize and modernize the life insurance space. So welcome to the show, Dustin.
Thank you for having me. This is great to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump into, your business and talk about, the way that you're modernizing life insurance, tell us a little brief about your background. What were you doing before this company?
Yeah, so I mean the shotgun to get here, meaning there was I ran a route like Magellan, right, to get where we are today. Honestly, I studied finance and accounting. I didn't do that after. I actually went and worked for a nonprofit for 3 years. I then actually worked for doing business development for a technical staffing and recruiting company. And from there, I actually started the company that I'm at now. But to be frank, we didn't hit our model for 4 years, meaning I iterated 3 times prior to where we really took off in 2016. So for all the this story may sound like many of you others, and actually why I was iterating on that company, I was self-funding it. I actually worked for another company for a year as the head of business development, a tech e-signature platform called PandaDoc. And then, if you can believe it, I even started another company under this one to fund this one called Vendus Product Labs, where we were building products for other people. And that actually was a decent success. I had about 26 people working with me. And then, to get you where we are today, we actually, when this company, Sureify, which is serving the life insurance space, started to kind of take off and we were building, we raised money. I actually kind of put all those things behind everything you hear there and moved into pure focus here. Brought over actually the team from the other company and sold off that business. So yeah, long story, bumpy road, twists and turns, but we're here.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things I find interesting about, entrepreneurs who like I said, who talk about, that winding road, like it wasn't a straight line. I mean, there were bumps, turns, and I often find like, how was it, for you as you're kind of navigating those bumps and turns? Because some entrepreneurs that, they give up when they hit some of those turns. Like what kind of pushed you through to keep, pivoting and changing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a super good question. It's like there was probably a lot of reasons to stop a lot of times. I kind of had this. There were two things, I guess, if I really boil it down. One was I wasn't done with the idea. I think that's a really important one. Like, if you don't have a passion waking you up to say I'm not done, then the truth is it's hard enough that there's nothing wrong with recognizing either your presumptions on the business were wrong, the market isn't right, the amount of money wasn't satisfactory that you could make or drive wasn't good enough. So I would say, like, I got up every day because I wasn't done with the idea and I saw the opportunity. The other is, plain and simple, you want to win, right? Like, you can't help but have, I'll call it a healthy level of pride that says, like, I'm not gonna, if I committed to try to see something to fruition, I'm gonna keep going. I would say though, transparently, if it was a bad idea, pride is a bad thing, right? Like, you got to be learning. So for us, I kind of blend the two where we were constantly changing. So I'd say you set down your pride with your idea and you listen to the data and then you keep rolling. I just wasn't done. I had a lot of heart in me. I'm an old man now, right? At about 36. But this is going back roughly 10 years. I started my endeavors when I was 26. So and I think the word I would use that I would love to be associated with, I can't tell you, I'm always trying to figure out how to do it, is what I call grit. Because you're not the smart, for many people, women and men here, like we're not all the smartest person we know. We're not all the most, the highest IQ or whatever. And I think at the end of the day, if you look across industries, grit is probably that defining factor, whether you're, trying to do the 10,000 hour kind of like, sports mastery or whatever. It's really not about being the best when you started, but rather I'll call it the most passionate, hardworking. What are you doing when no one's watching? And I'd like to say, like, that's who I want to be. I want to keep working, even if it was ugly when it started.
Gotcha. And one of the interesting things, like I said, as you and I were talking, as you kind of navigated those terms, I mean, with having a team of people of transitioning, hey, those 26 people that you had into what you're doing now, what was it like trying to, I guess, to motivate? Was there a lot of work you had to do to motivate them about this new idea, or were some of them really married to the old one?
You know what? That was actually easier than you might think, because our old business was a service business. So, and our new business is a software business. And I'll tell you, it's kind of like, when you're building things for other people, it's never ending. And my business now is never ending, but it's different, right? And what I mean by that is people were paying us to deliver on it was largely project. I mean, it may have been years of projects, it may have been a month of project, but it was project. So we actually, it was kind of a group decision where we said, do we want to keep in our free time, if that was a real thing, we'll build this platform. I still have a vision here. I'll keep selling. I'll take resources from that team and we'll build it. And that's actually like, so there was a level of buy-in along that way to say, like, our overall goal and our mission as a group, don't you want to be a software platform versus a project company? The answer was, I think, a resounding yes. No one, when you do project, and I think maybe people can relate on the call, the challenge with projects is they're not residual. And the challenge with projects is you may do an amazing job on one with a great client, and then you go to another. And the joke is maybe you do an amazing job, but you have what I call a bad client, right? A client that's just is not working. And you could go down that list, certain factors, or you're under budget, people don't have the money, so you can't really give. It's like if someone asks you, we work with enterprise companies now, and the joke is POCs, pilots. Like, the truth is they're not, you have to put as much effort in them, because no one, when they pay you a little bit of money, expects crap. Right? Like, just plain and simple. Like, you get a good deal on a fence, right? And you're like, it's a $2,000 fence or $1,000 fence. You buy the $1,000 fence. The real truth is that people don't expect half the boards to be missing. And I would say, like, that's ironically, though, materials are affected, time's affected. Like, people cost money when you do something. And I think, like, that's what happens in project work. So we just saw an opportunity, like in our market, which was an insurance market, to build a platform which would have much more residual value, both to the clients, so we could keep building on it, keep adding to that fence or that building, so to speak, right? And then secondly, like, we also have internally the ability to build and make something better all the time versus moving on to the next thing. So that was the real change. I think probably people on the call can relate to your project work versus your residual work. Residual can be nice, hence why the SaaS market in particular, it's such a big business, because residual compounding value and payments are a big deal.
And I guess, do you think that that's what really triggered you being able to raise the capital for, the new business?
Another darn good question. I would say, anytime you raise capital, I happen to have a couple of people talking to me right now about, my experiences raising capital. Honestly, like, raising capital is just like, the stock market or like the oil prices. It's about where you're going, where that market is going. So much of the time, like some people are able to raise a ton of capital based on the, addressable market or addressable opportunity in the future with nothing. That's actually not the case usually. Right now, we raise capital and we have to have something, but really no one's giving it on that something. They're really giving you because they want to make money. And usually if you don't have a buyer, it's not liquid, right? So someone buys, if you raise 10 or 20% of your, an equity inflow, right? So let's just say you raise $100,000, right? To start off, it's like, for 10% of your company. You value it at $1 million. No one will buy it for that. No one will sell it. So ultimately, when you really look at raising capital, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's like, it's all about the future. Can you grow it big enough to sell it or go public or whatever? And so, it's all about the market. Like, you have to be able to project in the future what the market's going to be, and people have to agree with you there. I mean, we've raised at Sureify, we've raised about 12 million to date. So I like to say, like, I've done a lot of work over the last 5 years on this, and the joke is I've only been successful 3 really core times when I've raised money, but really it's all about, at every one of those points, it's about that person or that group or that company believing that you're going the right way in the market, or else they're not going to invest. It's not about investing in what you have.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I mean, and that's not, I'm not sure if, a lot of people understand the amount of effort that goes into that, because I've gone through with one of the last tech companies I was at, before I went into what I'm doing full time, we raised capital. And, before, going through that exercise of raising capital, I didn't realize like how time consuming and how much work went into that whole process. I mean, how did you manage still leading the company as well as going through those, that 3 times of raising capital?
I mean, that's where, like I said, you have to kind of reach deep, because, it's a totally different game. Like, building your product, selling deals, and raising capital, like, all fall under these like massive need to haves, and yet they need to be done in many ways separately, right? You don't like, you need all of them, and then you need them, like, they're all going to hit at different times. You don't control that. So the answer is you do it, and you take off some years of your life. I mean, that's the real answer. You do it, you reach real deep, and you work when other people aren't working, and you set aside, I swear, for like the 4 years prior to this, I mean, COVID's obviously changed a lot of things, but like, I mean, like, I reserved 3 to 4 nights a week to work. I reserved maybe 1 day on the weekend. There was a time when I worked every weekend. So I've been married for 12 years. I would ask my wife, hey, I'm going to work for the next 3 months, every Saturday or Sunday. And I'm also going to work these 3 nights a week. So like from 6, I call them double days. Like, I literally think you have to have the willingness to work double days. So what you do is you kind of work on one side of the business during the day. Let's say that's when you have your people or small group. It could be one person, it could be you. You work on, let's say, product and sales, right? And you're 8 or 10 hours. Then you kind of, once again, like, my first like 10 years of marriage before I had my daughter, like, I probably ate at the dinner table. This probably disturbs people, but I probably ate at the dinner table, like, with just my wife and I, probably like, between my hands and my feet, like, that's about as many times. And what I mean by that, we didn't like sit down like dinner, because it was like, well, I came home half the time at like 7 or 8, like, shoot, I would crack a bottle of wine at like 6 o'clock at the office, right? Like, because I mean, I'm rolling into the second part of the day, that's my little in between, and then you work till about midnight. I mean, this is the hard thing for people to digest, of the commitment that certain companies take. I think there's also lifestyle businesses, depending on what your business is. Like, you can run a lifestyle business, which is more like your 9 to 5 / like, you're not trying to like double, or, you're not trying to grow astronomically each year. But anytime you're doing like a venture backed business, I would just say, like, no, I mean, you're going to commit to, whether you like it or not, you're signing up for double days. And it's like the football double days. I don't know. That's what makes me think of, right? Like, you go, you can maybe even take a nap in between, you get in that meal or whatever, but then you need to get back on the grind, because like you said, you have a totally different area, which is either fundraising or this, to work on. So that's the real answer.
No, I think that is very true. It definitely was my experience of working, like I said, in a venture-backed company, and I think not a lot of people understand that. So now I want to talk a little bit about, the actual product that, Sureify provides. What can people expect? What's the experience like with using the product?
Yeah, so, Sureify has a platform that we sell directly to the big life and annuity companies of the country. So like in North America, there's about 430 active life and annuity companies that you would buy. And like, if you passed away or if you're an older person, you want an annuity to drive money, like they exist across the US. So we sell a technical platform to them, which is called Lifetime, which enables them to sell insurance digitally. So that's like a whole, like life and annuity is kind of coming along there. 90+% of life and annuity is sold through agents, which many of you on the call have either met a friend or, bought through them, et cetera. But like the world is kind of transitioning on some level, not a baby in bathwater situation where agents are out, but rather they're being omni-channel enabled to sell digitally, and or maybe like you want to go online at 2 a.m. and buy your life insurance policy. That all needs to be, if you're going to be a 2020, I call it 2025 insurer, like you got to think that's going to happen, right? So we help those insurers to sell. So we have a software application we sell to them, we white label it, and then it allows them to sell. They're big projects, they're big implementations, like some of the biggest brands that everyone uses here. We sell to, you'll never see Sureify because we're a white labeled B2B2C company. So it's our application you're using, you just don't know. And then we also help, our second product is called Lifetime Service, which enables you to service your policies. So, if you and I are sitting at home and, we have another kid, and so we need to change beneficiaries, or we need to make a payment on something because we either, we're not paying monthly, we pay yearly, whatever it may be, that company can notify us through our web and mobile applications that we need to do that. It sounds kind of crazy because you're used to that everywhere else, but you're in a 150-year-old industry here that like we're helping transform. So we do all their web and mobile servicing applications. And then actually the thing we started with was called Lifetime Engage, which is all about, like, I don't know about anyone on this call, but you don't like maybe wake up every night thinking about your insurance company, right? That's maybe not part of your natural flow. Maybe Terrell and I do, right? Because we're like, I don't know whether it's our business insurance or something, but ultimately I don't wake up thinking about my auto insurance very much. So that's a big problem for the insurer. So we have an engagement product, which is basically like, how do you take someone that just pays us yearly or maybe an auto deposit and create value for them for when they need it, or on an automated ongoing basis, or based on their persona or a life event they enter, to be able to educate on finances or upsell like something that's relevant based on a life event, or track and push them towards a healthy life and a healthy kind of risk reducing activities, or these insurers want to become like an engaging resource for them, so that ultimately they don't call someone else or engage. Like, people don't want to just pay bills these days. We want value for what we're getting. And so those are kind of our three products. We have some, we have amazing clients across the board, all kind of, we have many of the top ones. And then we serve actually all the way down to like 35-person insurance companies, to the largest insurance companies in the country. So that's what we do.
Awesome. So someone was interested in, just like I said, seeing what Sureify is up to, and like any of the press releases that you guys do. Where can they find you guys online?
So, I mean, Sureify.com, that's the place. We have, I'm a big LinkedIn guy. So and Sureify, because of that, like we love our LinkedIn. We're a business application, right? So you can go to LinkedIn, follow Sureify. You can always go to mine and follow or request to connect with me. But yeah, we have a great marketing sales team that puts out a lot of information. And you could follow our journey there, or if you're interested in the space, that's where we are. So we have Twitter, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. But I would say, like, the business side, you can sign up for a newsletter, right, on the website, that type of stuff. So all your typical ways, we're available. We're not hiding, but we are very focused on serving large life and annuity companies. So we know our persona.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, one last question I like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about your journey, what's 2 pieces of advice you would share with other business owners?
So, man, come on, these are hard ones. I would say, the most important to me is that, one, you're passionate about what you do. I think it's really hard to wake up every day do those double days, overcome the family challenges. If you don't love on some level what you do, I think I'm lucky. I always call myself like a dog. You know, dogs are always happy to see their owners and happy to like get up in the morning, I'd say, right? If you know, you got to have some level of, you know, I like to grind and I like to you know, do, you know, it doesn't matter if you own a you know, a residential, you know, gardening business, you own a software company, you know, consulting company, whatever. You got to really like just, I think it really helps to love what you do. And I know that's, you know, that can be hard, and people say, well, that's not always the case. So, and then the other is like the other thing that I think is really paying off for me now is honesty and transparency. So one is passion, but as you grow, whether that's clients or team members, like one thing that I finally see, I say in the long run, really paying off is your commitment to the things you've said you're going to do, the things that even cost you to do that you've committed to. And then thirdly, the transparency and communication that you have in your company can pay dividends, because everyone wants to be a part of a close-knit and honest group of people. Ultimately, that's hopefully what a family is, right? And I think that as I'm getting older, I think those words of your loved ones and your family members that have told you so much about honesty and transparency, I would say if you can like live that out, that will really help. And like I've been asking, my wife and I have asked, what are things we'd want to teach we have 2 daughters now, what are core traits we'd want them to have that we think will enable them to be holistically successful and happy. And I would actually say grit is one of the ones I love. I just always say that grit is like my main thing, because it's not about necessarily skill or some like, you know, luck, et cetera. It's just about like that depth of grit. You know, whether you're the worst football player on the team or not the smartest, you know, I don't know, like business builder, like grit will get you far and possibly the furthest. And then, like I said, honesty, like I want my child, or I want my friends, I want fellow business, I want us to live out honesty with our team members and also the market and our clients, because I think that will go deeper when things turn bad. Because once again, in businesses, things don't always go right than anything else. And I think the next person may buy based on trust than just every time you win. So those are my 2, you know, things I'd say.
Awesome. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for, you know, giving us time and coming on the show to share your story, the journey, as well as the tips. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Well, I truly appreciate being here. Thank you for inviting me. You know, we will talk soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.